touched on is that health is absolutely a unifying area, and it's absolutely, we I think it's undeniable the level of kind of movement-based approach that the Northwest has had, and thank you, Lynn, for kind of reminding us of that. And so it's a really, I think that when we think about public health, I can't imagine why we don't respond and think about public health in a movement approach, given that all of us are patients, even if not all of us are practitioners or health professionals. And so what does it mean when most of us don't shape access to public health, that most of us are actually erased and ignored, and that our bodies are not even considered when we think about what a healthy body is, and that's not just on the basis of race, but also in terms of gender, in terms of disability, in terms of chronic sickness, in terms of class. So it's really, really important that we think about what it means in this moment where COVID is absolutely reminding and revealing that there are social and structural implications of how society is engineered has impacts on our body. It's really important that we think about what it means in this moment where COVID is absolutely reminding and revealing that there are social and structural implications of how society is engineered has impacts on our body and has impacts on the quality of life that we have, and is such a profound determinant of whether we live or not. Around COVID and the disproportionate deaths, it's been discussed often by the government, but also more broadly in civil society, as if Black and brown bodies are dying disproportionately in some arbitrary way, as if it's that, something within our bodies is the reason that we are, disproportionately dying and being impacted by COVID, as opposed to relating it to the impact of trauma, not just present day, but also generational, linking it to the histories of colonialism, of the impacts on our parents' bodies, on their physiology, and how we can't escape it, that the body keeps score, that the body keeps record, that what we have inherited from, for example, I'm Bengali, and, the British created a famine when, millions of people had died in Bangladesh. And as a result, our communities experienced stunting, which is that our bodies didn't grow or malnourished. So when you see Bengali people as petite and small, and those are, physiological impacts of structural and colonial and racist harms. And we're still not connecting the physiological impacts of our environments and how they're designed, but also the everyday decisions, from microaggressions to the erasure, to not believing our pain, and not believing our pain showing up as, disproportionate deaths in communities of communities of color in custody, or the overrepresentation, as Mahmoud's work has shown, the overrepresentation of Black and brown bodies in mental health, but not when it comes to adequate physical health support. So while I want us to talk about trauma, the current apparatus that we have and what is available to us, because it has been led by a Eurocentric model, which is, I think, therefore I am, causality and effect. So what you can see and what can be proved as the only way of verifying what a person's experiences, has completely led us to this deficit model, where we're actually inadequate to support one another. And what we need to be moving to, as Natalie mentioned, is being led by lived experience. What do people's experiences reveal about what health is, what a body is, what impacts us? But beyond that, why have we not believed those bodies? Because those bodies have already been speaking, those bodies have already been hospitalized, already been institutionalized. So what is the relationship to power and belief and trust, which brings us back to eugenics and brings us back to which bodies matter, which bodies don't, hierarchies of knowledge, colonialism, Western knowledge production, and really connecting with those aspects, and what is really profound, and when we think about these hierarchies of knowledge, and we're thinking about a COVID response and why Western knowledge production fails us so deeply, is that, as I mentioned earlier, is that it's connecting, it relies on dismembering the body. I think, therefore I am, to treat the body. And when we look at non-Eurocentric modalities of knowledge production, the body is a site of knowledge, that our genes reveal things, that our emotions reveal things, that ways and compasses by which we are informed of our environment, which we are informed of our boundaries. Move forward from that, and how do we move past a dominance of hierarchies of knowledge which have set us up to not know and to not understand, and therefore remain inadequate in supporting our societies to have the most robust health that is possible. One absolutely is being led by lived experience and centering lived experience, but in order to do that, to create the conditions and the capacity for people who are lived experience to lead, to have, as Natalie said, not to be racing for resources, but actually be able to show up, is that we do need to look at trauma. A lot of the times when we look at communities that have been harmed and marginalized, and we're not thinking about how to resource them, not just in a monetary sense, but actually create capacity for them in a day-to-day sense, in a real, material, practical way, then those people can show up with restored agency, because trauma removes agency. It makes us disassociate. It takes us away from our own lives. If people are then resourced and have the capacity, they are then able to lead and to be able to reveal and show in ways that are not extractive but equitable, and aren't re-traumatizing, and do not come at the expense of our lives and our traumas. A third part of that is embodied, that we have to start looking at embodied knowledge systems, that oppression relies on us not understanding our bodies and living in a dismembered way. And when we start connecting with our body, we are able to move from a more holistic, more informed place. And so really understanding that there is no way to move forward without having a deeper relationship to our body, which then includes our environments, the natural, our physical, our structural environments too.